When you disappear. My sister said while she lived in the apartment I paid for, and her husband laughed at me. I calmly left, and they didn't believe when a month later. When are you leaving? Megan said as we sat in the apartment I paid for. Ryan, her husband, sat next to her, grinning like I was some kind of joke. He always looked at me like I was beneath him, like I was some fool who didn't realize he was being used. And maybe, for a long time, I was. I had just walked in, the usual bags in hand, small gifts for my nephews. They ran up to me as they always did, excited, hugging my legs, grabbing at the bags to see what I had brought them this time. It was the best part of my visits, seeing their little faces light up, knowing I was doing something good for them. But Megan? She watched with that familiar irritation in her eyes. She had always been like that. If I spent too much time with her children, she would get upset. If they were more excited to see me than her, she got defensive. She used to make small comments, but lately they had turned into complaints. Once she even told me she didn't like that they looked up to me so much. As if being a good uncle was a problem. And yet, I was still helping her. I paid her rent $1,200 a month. For over a year. That didn't count the times I sent her extra money when she ran out of groceries, or the time I paid to have her car fixed, or the endless little expenses that somehow always fell on me. I did it because our parents told me to. Family helps family. And since I was doing well financially and they weren't, I should step up. So I did. And now, after it all the money, all the favors, all the times I showed up when they needed me, she sat there, comfortable in the house I paid for, acting like my presence was an inconvenience. Ryan, still grinning, sat back and enjoyed the show. He had never respected me. To him, I was a loser, a pathetic guy who wasted his money on someone else's family while they laughed behind my back. Something inside me shifted. I had tolerated it for too long. I put down the bags for the kids and looked straight at Megan. If I'm bothering you so much, I'll leave. She scoffed, rolling her eyes like I was being dramatic. But Ryan, he laughed. Not a polite laugh, not an awkward laugh, he really laughed. Don't forget the bills next week. Megan called as I grabbed my keys. Ryan grinned. Yeah, don't forget. I paused at the door and turned back to them. Oh, don't worry, I said. I remember everything. And then I walked out. They didn't believe me. Not when Megan texted me the next week about the rent, and I ignored her. Not when she tried to call, and I let it ring. Not when she sent another message, this time pretending to be nice, saying she just wanted to talk. For 3 weeks I was silent. I never showed up, never answered, never sent a dime. Then, on the 4th week, at our mother's birthday dinner, everything finally exploded. I hadn't seen Megan or Ryan in almost a month. Ignoring their texts had felt weird at first, but by the 2nd week, it felt good. Freeing. I had spent years being the reliable one, the one who showed up, the one who helped. Now, for the first time, I was letting them figure things out for themselves. And I knew they were struggling. Megan's messages had changed over time. At first, she would ask for the money as if it were a scheduled payment. Then she tried guilt by bringing up the children dash. I thought you loved your nephews? When that didn't work, she got angry dash. You can't just cut off family like that, Clayton. You owe us. But I didn't owe them anything. I expected her to lose it eventually, but I didn't expect it to happen at our mother's birthday dinner. The whole family was there, our parents, our aunt and uncle, some cousins. It was supposed to be a peaceful evening, but the moment Megan saw me, her expression turned cold. I barely had time to sit down before she leaned over and hissed, "Can we talk? Now?" I didn't want to make a scene, so I nodded and followed her to the side of the room. Ryan stayed at the table, watching as if he already knew what was coming. Megan didn't waste any time. "Rent's due tomorrow, Clayton. You know that." I stared at her. "Yes." "So?" Her jaw tightened. "And you didn't send the money last month?" "What the hell?" I kept my voice even. "I told you I was done." She blinked, as if she hadn't really processed what I'd said. "You what?" I'm done, Megan. I'm not paying for you anymore. Her face twisted in shock, then anger. Are you serious? You think you can just cut us off? We have children, Clayton. I crossed my arms. Then maybe you and Ryan should figure out how to support them yourselves. I had never seen her look at me with such pure anger. Wow. So this is who you are, huh? You act like you're this great uncle, but when it comes down to it, you just disappear. Just like I knew you would. I shook my head. I didn't disappear. You pushed me away. Before she could say anything else, our dad called from across the room. Hey, what's going on over there? Megan didn't even hesitate. Clayton refuses to help us anymore. She said loud enough for everyone to hear. The table fell silent. Our mom looked confused. What do you mean? Megan turned to her, her voice full of frustration. He knows we can't afford the rent without him. He just cut us off without warning us. I almost laughed. I warned you. When you told me to leave. That's when our dad's face darkened. Clayton, why would you do this to your sister? I looked at him, waiting for him to ask the right question, waiting for him to ask why I had stopped. But he never did. Megan continued. I mean, I understand if he needed a break or something. But to completely abandon us? That's just cruel. Ryan, still at the table, finally chimed in. It's actually embarrassing, man. You act like you're better than us, but at the end of the day you're just a selfish asshole. I clenched my jaw, but before I could answer, our Uncle David spoke up. Wait a second. Are you telling me that Clayton has been paying your rent all this time? Megan hesitated. I mean, he helps out, yeah? David scoffed. Helps out? He paid everything, didn't he? Now everyone was looking at Megan and Ryan differently. Our Aunt Linda shook her head. Jesus, Megan. You've been living off your brother while pretending it's his job? Megan's face flushed. It's not like that. Then what is it like? David shot back. I remained silent and let them have it. Ryan, clearly feeling cornered, decided to change tactics. Look, it's family, okay? This is what you do. You help each other. It's not like Clayton's strapped for cash. He could afford it. Linda turned to me. Is that true? I exhaled. I could afford it. But that's not the point. Dad, now annoyed, waved his hand. All right, enough. Clayton, just help them a little bit more. We can figure something else out later. I shook my head. No. Megan's mouth dropped open. You're really going to do this? You're really going to let us get kicked out? I looked her in the eye. It's not my problem anymore. And just like that, the room exploded. The moment I said those words, Megan lost it. You're a selfish man, Clayton, she practically screamed, her voice cutting through the room. After everything, you just turn your back on us? Ryan stood up and shook his head with that smug, condescending look I'd gotten used to. Man, I knew you were weak, but this is low. You act like you're some great guy, but the second your family actually needs you, you bail. I laughed under my breath. Actually needs me? You needed me for over a year, Ryan. But you sure as hell never acted grateful for it. Megan scoffed. Oh, so now you want to thank you? That's what this is about. You want me to grovel? Fine. Thank you, Clayton. Thank you for helping your sister, for being a decent human being. Now, can you stop acting like a dramatic little dash? David cut her off. Megan, stop. You're sounding ridiculous. She whipped around to glare at him. Excuse me? David shook his head, clearly done with the whole act. You don't get to talk about Clayton like that when he's been carrying your damn household for over a year. You and Ryan are two grown adults, and you've relied on him like he was your personal ATM. And now you're pissed off because he finally grew a backbone? Linda nodded in agreement. You have 2 kids, Megan. What's your plan if Clayton isn't around? Just expect someone else to step in and save you? Megan's face turned red. We had a plan, Ryan mumbled. We just needed a little more time. A little more time? I repeated, now looking directly at Ryan. You laughed at me all the time, acting like I'm an idiot for helping. But now you expect me to feel sorry for you? Ryan's eyes darkened. Watch yourself, man. I tilted my head. Or what? He clenched his jaw but didn't say anything. He wasn't used to me talking back. I'd let so much slide over the years, swallowing my frustration, telling myself it wasn't worth the fight. But I was done with that. Our dad, clearly uncomfortable with the whole thing, finally spoke up. Clayton, I don't know what's going on between you and your sister, but this is neither the time nor the place. I looked at him. You really don't know what's going on? Or you just don't want to admit it? His expression hardened. Family doesn't turn its back on each other. And yet, when Megan treated me like garbage for years, you never said a word. That hit something, because he looked away. Megan let out a bitter laugh. Wow. So now I'm the bad guy, huh? Linda crossed her arms. If the shoe fits. Megan turned back to me. Fine. Don't help. But if we get kicked out, don't come crying to us about how guilty you feel. I smiled. Oh, I won't. The table fell silent. Ryan was staring at me now, like he finally realized I wasn't bluffing. He leaned forward. So that's it? You're just going to walk away? Pretend we don't exist? You both made it clear that I was never more than a paycheck to you. So yeah, I'm walking away. Megan's face contorted with rage. You're such an asshole. I shrugged. Maybe. But at least I pay my own rent. That's when Ryan snapped. 1 second he was sitting there, and the next he was lunging at me. Ryan lunged at me, swinging his fists, as if he actually thought he could knock me down. It was pathetic. The guy was fighting like someone who had never been in a real fight before, wild, uncoordinated, all anger and no skill. I barely had to move to avoid his first punch. He came at me again, but this time I caught his arm, twisted it, and pushed him back. He stumbled, knocking over a chair and almost taking the tablecloth with him. You really want to do this, Ryan? I asked, shaking my head. Go ahead. But you'll regret it. Megan was already screaming. Stop it, both of you! But Ryan wasn't done. He stood up again, red in the face, and charged again. I let him come, then stepped aside at the last second. His own momentum sent him right into the table, knocking over a plate and almost losing his balance. Before he could turn around, I grabbed his arm, drove my fist into his gut, and watched as all the air left his body. He fell to his knees, gasping for breath. You son of a bitch! He panted. I stepped back. Stay down, Ryan. You're embarrassing yourself. Megan ran to him and knelt beside him as if I had just committed a crime. Ryan! Are you okay? He tried to look at me, but he was still struggling to catch his breath. Then my dad stood up. Enough! I turned to him, waiting for him to say what everyone else in the room knew, that Ryan had started it. That Megan and Ryan had treated me like garbage for years. That it wasn't my fault. Instead, he looked right at me. Get out, Clayton. I blinked. Are you serious? You attacked Ryan! Megan shrieked. I laughed in disbelief. Ryan attacked me? I was just defending myself. Dad didn't listen. I won't have this kind of violence at our family dinner. You need to leave. Now. David, my uncle, slammed his hand down on the table. Are you out of your mind, Steve? You saw Ryan go after him first. Linda, my aunt, crossed her arms. You're really going to kick out the only person in this room who did the right thing? Dad's jaw tightened. I'm not arguing. I looked around the room. Mom had her hands in her lap, avoiding eye contact. Megan was still acting like Ryan was some kind of victim. Ryan, still on his knees, looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole from the sheer humiliation of it all. But David and Linda? They were furious. I exhaled, grabbed my jacket, and headed for the door. As I passed Megan, I leaned in just enough for her to hear me. Good luck with the rent. Then I walked out. And I didn't look back. For 2 days, I didn't hear from either of them. No texts, no calls, nothing. I wasn't surprised. Dad had made it clear whose side he was on, and Megan was too proud to reach out first. I figured they'd stay mad for a while, then eventually find a way to blame me for everything. And honestly, I was okay with it. I felt free for the first time in years. No more paying their rent, no more guilt trips, no more dealing with Ryan's smug attitude. I focused on myself. Went to work, went to the gym, actually spent money on myself for once. It felt good. Then, on the third day, I got a call from Mom. I stared at the screen for a moment before answering. "Hey." Her voice was tense. "Clayton, we need to talk. It's important." I sighed. "What is it now?" "It's Megan," she said quickly. "Something's happened." My stomach dropped. As much as I wanted to be done with them, the thought of something serious still made my heart clench. "What happened?" Mom hesitated, as if choosing her words carefully. "They're in trouble, Clayton. They may lose the apartment today. The landlord gave them final notice. They have until the end of the day to pay or they'll be evicted." I ran my hand over my face. "Are you serious? I told Megan weeks ago that this was going to happen." "I know," Mom said. "But it's not just her. The kids, Clayton. They don't deserve this." I clenched my jaw. I hated that she brought up the children. She knew they were my weakness. "Where's Dad in all this?" I asked. Mom hesitated again. He's upset. But he's not able to help financially." "Of course not." Dad was always quick to defend Megan, but when it came to actually helping her, he was suddenly useless. "Clayton, please," Mom said. "If you can just help this one last time, just to keep her from losing her home dash." I sighed, already feeling the weight of this pressing down on me. "Fine. I'll talk to Megan." Mom sounded relieved. "Thanks. I knew you wouldn't turn your back on her." I hung up and grabbed my keys. As much as I wanted to stay out of it, the thought of my nephews losing their home was too much. I told myself that this was different. That I wasn't doing this for Megan or Ryan, I was doing it for the kids. But I had no idea what I was getting into. Because everything Mom had just told me? It was a lie. I drove over, still feeling conflicted. Part of me knew this was exactly what Megan wanted to pull me back in, to make me feel responsible. But Mom had said it was urgent, and if my nephews were about to lose their home, I couldn't ignore that. When I arrived, Megan opened the door quickly, as if she had been expecting me. She looked stressed, but not in the way someone would if they were actually about to be evicted. Something felt wrong. Ryan sat on the couch, avoiding eye contact. That was my second red flag. He was always the loudest in the room, always had something clever to say. But now, silent. I got right to the point. "Mom said the landlord gave you the final notice. What's going on?" Megan sighed dramatically and ran a hand through her hair. "It's bad, Clayton. They say if we don't pay by tonight, we're out. No extensions, no warnings. Just gone." I studied her face. "And you're telling me this now?" She hesitated, then forced a helpless expression. "I thought we could work something out. But we don't have enough, and dash. How much do you need?" I interrupted. She looked at Ryan. He still wasn't looking at me. I narrowed my eyes. "You know how much you owe, right?" "Of course," she snapped. "It's, $1,200. $1,200 exactly?" She hesitated. "Well, I mean, give or take a little." I crossed my arms. "Where's the eviction notice?" Her face paled. "What?" "The notice," I repeated. "If your landlord is evicting you today, there should be a written notice." "Let me see it." Megan laughed nervously. "Oh, Clayton, come on, you don't have to dash." "Show it." "To me." "The note." She opened her mouth, closed it, then turned to Ryan. "Ryan, tell him dash." Ryan groaned and finally spoke. "Just drop it, Megan." I stared at her, realization settling in. Unbelievable. Megan huffed. Clayton, listen, Dash. I cut her off. You lied. Her eyes widened. No, I dash. You lied, Megan. My voice rose, anger bubbling up. There's no eviction, is there? She crossed her arms. I mean, not yet. I let out a bitter laugh. Wow. You had Mom call me, pretend it was an emergency, just to get me to pay your rent again? It's not like that, she snapped. We just dash. It's exactly like that. I turned to Ryan. And you went along with it? Ryan just shrugged. Not my problem if you're stupid enough to fall for it. That was it. That was the moment something inside me snapped. I stepped back and shook my head. You two really are pathetic. Megan groaned. Oh, please. You act like we owe you. You have money, Clayton. It's not like this hurts you. I exhaled, forcing myself to remain calm. You're right, Megan. It's not about the money. It's about respect. And you've never had any from me. She rolled her eyes. Oh, here we go, Dash. No. We're done. That made her pause. What? I'm serious, I said, my voice calm. No more money. No more favors. No more me. Megan scoffed. You're being dramatic. I smiled. You'll see how serious I am. And with that, I walked out of her life forever. The moment I left Megan's apartment, I knew I was done. For real this time. No more second chances, no more guilt, no more being used. But before I could completely walk away, there was one last thing I had to do. You see, when I first started helping Megan, I set up a joint account to make things easier. It was in my name, but she had access to it so she could pay the rent directly. I had stopped putting money into it weeks ago, but I hadn't actually closed it. So the next morning I went straight to the bank and withdrew every last cent from that account. There wasn't much left, maybe a few hundred, but it was mine. I transferred it back to my personal account and closed the joint account completely. Megan must have realized something was wrong pretty quickly, because when I got home, she blew up my phone. I didn't answer it. She texted, "Did you take the money?" "What the hell, Clayton?" Then another. "You had no right to do that. That was our account." And another. "You're such a selfish asshole. I hope you know that." I read them all and then blocked her number. Ryan tried next. Called me 5 times in a row. Left a voicemail that started out calm but quickly turned into him berating me. I deleted it without listening to the rest. Then Mom called. I hesitated before answering. "Clayton," she began, her voice softer than usual. "Your sister is upset." I laughed. "Yeah, I bet she is. Did you really take all the money out of the account?" "Sure did." She sighed. "Was that really necessary?" "Mom, I was done helping her. And I made that very clear. But now they don't have enough to cover next month's rent," she said. "Not my problem," I said simply. There was a long pause. Then she said quietly, "You really mean that, don't you? For the first time in my life?" "Yes. I do." She didn't argue after that. Maybe because she knew there was nothing more to say. 2 months passed. Megan and Ryan didn't make it. Without my money, they couldn't keep up with the rent, and eventually they had no choice but to move back in with our parents. I didn't get all the details, I didn't talk to them anymore, but I heard enough from David and Linda to know it had been a disaster. Megan hated it. She hated that she had lost control, hated that I had been the one to leave, hated that she was back home instead of living in her apartment. And Ryan? From what I heard, he was unhappy too. David called me one day, laughing. "You finally did it," he said. "You finally stopped being the family punching bag." I smiled. "It feels good, honestly." "It should," he said. "I'm proud of you." It meant more than I expected. The only thing that still bothered me were my nephews. They were cool kids. I missed seeing them, I missed bringing them little gifts, I missed how excited they got when I walked through the door. But I knew Megan. She wouldn't let me see them. She'd rather punish them by cutting me out than admit she was wrong. That part was bad. But it wasn't enough to make me go back. Because for the first time in a long time, I was free. And I wouldn't give that up for anything.